Hello everyone, I'm Junkai Jiang. Today it's my great honor to introduce my project, From Correlation to Causation, Information Theoretic View of Beijing Air Pollution. Let me start by outlining the aim and the motivation of this study. Our goal is to identify how meteorological factors influence air pollutants in both nonlinear and directional ways across 12 monitoring stations in Beijing. We apply two complementary information theoretic measures, mutual information and the transfer entropy. For mutual information, we ask which meteorological variables show the strongest nonlinear dependence with pollutants. Our hypothesis is that temperature and humidity will show the most nonlinear coupling, reflecting thermodynamic and moisture effects that go beyond simple correlation. For transfer entropy, we ask which weather factors casually drive pollutant variations over time, and what are the dominant lag times. We hypothesize that wind speed and the temperature exerts the mean casual influence on short-term pollutant changes through dispersion and thermodynamics. On the right, the motivation is that the interactions between air pollution and meteorology are inherently nonlinear and time-dependent. So traditional linear tools like correlation or regression often fail to capture them. By integrating MI and TE, we create a unified framework that reveals both nonlinear coupling and directional causal influences in air quality dynamics. Finally, our dataset is the Beijing multi-site air quality dataset from the UCI machine learning repository, which contains over 420,000 hourly records from 2013 to 2017 across 12 stations, including 6 pollutants and multiple meteorological variables such as temperature, dew point, wind, and precipitations. Before performing the information theoretic analysis, we first focus on data cleaning and explorative data analysis to make sure the dataset was consistent and reliable. The purpose was to obtain a high-quality uniform sampled dataset, one that's free from missing hour gaps or outliers which would bias mutual information or transfer entropy results. During data cleaning, we aligned all timestamps to a strict hourly frequency across the 12 stations. We then removed the invalid or negative pollutant values and used time-based interpolation to fill small missing gaps. Next, we used a log1 plus transformation on all pollutant variables to smooth out extreme spikes and make the data more normally distributed. Air pollution data often show long right tails, especially for variables like PM2.5 and CO, so this step helps stabilize their variance and makes the following analysis, like correlation or transfer entropy, more reliable. We also converted CO units from milligrams to grams per cube meter for consistency. The workflow on the right shows the full pipeline, starting from real CSVs followed by date-time alignment, cleaning, interpolation, and finally generate clean CSVs together with quality control reports and visualizations. For EDA, we compare the missing rates before and after interpolation, visualize the real versus log transform distributions for each pollutant, and check the hourly spacing to verify temporal continuity. This step ensured our data was smooth, gap-free, and suitable for information theoretical analysis. Now let's look at the mutual information analysis, which quantifies nonlinear dependencies between pollutants and meteorological factors, relationships that may be missed by simple linear correlation. We use the crosscurve Kn estimator implemented through JIDT with k equals 6 neighbors and the input variables were the log transformed pollutants against the meteorological factors. On the right, the first heat map shows the overall MI values in knots, while the second one shows the nonlinear boosts calculated as MI minus the absolute Pearson's correlation. The bar chart below summarizes the top nonlinear pairs across all stations. In terms of key findings, we observed that ozone and temperature show the strongest nonlinear dependencies, which is consistent with photochemical ozone formation driven by temperature and sunlight. Additionally, CO-dew point and NO2-dew point exhibit the largest nonlinear boosts, indicating that humidity-related effects plays a significant but nonlinear role in pollutant variation, something that linear correlation alone could not capture. After identifying nonlinear dependencies with mutual information, we next use the transport entropy to explore directional and time-lagged causal influences of meteorological vectors on pollutants dynamics. The analysis was performed using the multivariate transport entropy framework from IDTXL, which is based on JIDT, with 6 pollutants targets and 5 meteorological sources, computed over 24-hour replication blocks to capture daily temporal patterns. We applied the cross-code conditional mutual information estimator and determined statistical significance using permutation-based tests with FDR correlation. On the right, the heat map shows how often each meteorological pollutant pair exhibits significant causal transfer across the 12 stations. The network diagram below summarizes the relationships, where the edge color represents the average T strength, and the Ys indicates the number of stations showing significant influences. The results show that wind speed has the strongest and most frequent causal influence, particularly on CO and O3, consistent with dispersion and transport effects. In contrast, temperature exhibits moderate effects on PM2.5 and PM10, reflecting how thermal conditions impact particulate concentration and formation. To summarize our finding, from the mutual information analysis, we observed strong nonlinear dependencies in pairs like O3 versus temperature and pressure, and the CO2-NO2 ratio versus dew point, revealing thermodynamic and humidity effects that a simple correlation could not capture. From the transport entropy result, we found clear causal flows, wind speed driving CO and O3, and the temperature influencing PM2.5 and PM10, showing that both dispersion and thermal conditions are key drivers of short-term pollutants changes. These causal links were statistically validated through permutation tests and remained consistent across stations, giving them strong physical interpretability. Our approach is model-free, capturing nonlinear and directional effects without assuming any predefined form. However, we didn't include emission data, which may act as confounders. Signal effects were not isolated, and the 6-hour T window might miss long-term transport patterns. In future work, we plan to build seasonal T networks to compare winter and summer dynamics, apply conditional TE to disentangle meteorological influences, and test whether T-select variables can enhance forecasting models. Overall, this framework demonstrates how information theory can uncover hidden yet physical meaningful patterns in air quality systems. That's all about my presentation. Thank you for listening.